Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of Hollywood Kitchen. And this is a really fun thing that Laura Gabriel suggested, and I'm so glad that she did because COVID numbers have been rising. A lot of New Year's Eve events have been canceled. It's kind of been bleak and depressing, but we decided we are literally pretty much making the lemonade out of lemons we've all been given. And we figured what better way to ring in the new year than with food and pre-code. So yay, we're very excited.
Pre-codes and pancakes.
Pre-codes and pancakes, yes. And I will be eating mine at the end of the discussion, during the discussion for this Barbara Stanwyck film. Now, Laura, this was your brainchild, the pre-code and pancakes thing, so all credit goes to you. Tell me what made you pick The Miracle Woman as our first film today, because I know Barbara had so many great pre-codes. It was almost impossible for me to even pick one. I was just like,
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie that we had discussed at our previous Barbara Stanwyck event.
Because there's no such thing as I've had enough Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh, never.
Ever.
Never. We could do Barbara Stanwyck for the rest of our lives and never get tired of her. But this was a movie that we discussed at the last event that we did about Barbara Stanwyck. And it's one that I feel like not enough people know. And not enough people have seen. And it's really interesting. I was actually looking up some things about it before this, and somebody, I think it was on IMDb, somebody called it a strange curio from the early 30s, which is like, okay, like I could sort of see that because it's very daring in many ways. It's a critique of religion and a critique of sort of religious hypocrisy, and based also interestingly, I mean, we could talk about this more during the discussion, but on the life of Aimee Semple McPherson, which is kind of cool in itself.
And her temple is still here in Los
Angeles.
Yes,
the Angelus Temple, right?
And I live not too far from it, and every time I go by it, I think about her and I think about this movie as well.
Yeah, it's similar if anybody has seen Elmer Gantry from 1960. It's similar in a lot of ways to Elmer Gantry, although I think it's a little bit softer. It's a little bit less jaded than Elmer Gantry is. But it's pre-code in that way that it didn't shy away from critiquing religion and religious hypocrisy. So yeah. So anyway, I thought it would be a good movie to talk about today. And if anyone hasn't seen it or would like to tune into the discussion to learn more about it, it's totally worth it.
And I was lucky enough to see this on the big screen a few years ago.
You did? Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, I feel so spoiled rotten living here with all the options, but she gives a performance in this that I would describe as just go for broke. There's one scene in it where she is shaking, and the big screen anyway, you could literally see spit like coming out of her mouth.
Is it the very beginning, the very opening scene?
It's a couple of the scenes actually, and
yeah,
performance.
It's interesting that you say that, because when I see that opening scene in Miracle Woman, I am reminded so much of Barbara Stanwyck's performance in The Thornbirds, 50 years later, which I think is so interesting that she had it right from the very beginning. She was Barbara Stanwyck right away.
Absolutely. And I think this film is interesting too, because as you mentioned, the critique of religious hypocrisy, but also I think when a lot of people think about pre-code, they think about sex, which fair enough, there's a heck of a lot of it in pre-code, but it encompassed a lot of adult issues, a lot of themes that, obviously you wouldn't see in movies after 1934 when the code, was much more strictly enforced. And I think that it's fun to kind of look at other aspects of what pre-code did and the themes and other pre-codes. Again, there's religion, there's violence, there's gambling, there's, very adult, complicated situations in these movies. And this one is certainly a rich tapestry of that.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like you're right. When people think of pre-codes, they think steamy,
Girls undressing in a Busby Berkeley musical.
And it's like, yes.
And we love that, by the way.
Yes,
we love that.
indeed. I mean, but there is more to it. There is more to the pre-code era than just that. It was an era where there were a lot of really daring movies made, just in many ways.
Mark Vieira had a really powerful quote that he's written extensively about pre-code, and I highly recommend anything he's written. But he said the tragedy of the loss of pre-code, he said it took mature thought out of the movies for a long time. And
that's very smart.
That's such a great quote. Oh my God. I'm probably getting it wrong, but that was the gist of what he said. And it certainly made sense to me.
Yeah. And I think that when the pre-code era ended, there started to be a different way of making movies, people wanted to make those same movies. They wanted to put forth those same ideas, but they couldn't do it so directly. And so, there were a lot of really creative people were hired in order to tell the stories that the filmmakers wanted to tell. So I think it's a give and take for the end of the pre-code era, but certainly you can tell, you can see it when the pre-code era ends.
Definitely. I would describe it as a rawness and a frankness that pre-code had to offer that you didn't see in the post-code years. Yeah,
definitely. And then when the production code fell in the late 60s, then they didn't know what to do with themselves, and they wanted to maybe go back to that raw era, but times had changed, and filmmaking just became something completely different, more even freer than the pre-code era had to offer, and I think maybe it suffered a bit because of that. Anyway, I mean, it's all stuff that we can talk about during the discussion as well. If people want to join in.
Definitely. And this was directed, correct me if I'm wrong, this wasn't a Frank Capra, was it?
Yes.
It was Capra.
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna yes, Capra. Mm-hmm.
And by the way, there is an early Frank Capra DVD box set, which I have in the other room over here, which is really good. If you guys have never gotten your hands on that, there's a lot of terrific movies he and Barbara made together in that box set, and it's so worth getting.
Yeah, I mean, but Frank Capra and Barbara Stanwyck were a real sort of team, team in the pre-code era. They made a lot of really great movies together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ladies of Leisure.
Oh, love that movie.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Yeah. So it's amazing to see what she could do and what she could do in the hands of a capable director like Capra or William Wellman.
Oh yeah, and I think she really had the fortune to work with these people that brought out the greatness in her, and I feel like she gave as good as she got, and she had great directors. She had so many in her career. It's kind of amazing to think about the list of directors she worked with.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, it's kind of jaw-dropping, actually. It's a who's who of, directorial genius in Hollywood.
Yes, and she also, I mean, this was something that we talked about in the other Barbara Stanwyck event, but she was never tied to a studio, so she could really choose the projects and the directors and the people that she wanted to work with, and they wanted her because she was the one who brought the box office. The movies that she made, not all of them were great, but she was always great, and people knew that she was great and that she would make movies a success.
Being able to rise above the material is really a gift that not everybody has, because some people, they're only as good as the material they're given, and if they're given less than good material, they just sink with it. But she was the opposite. She could easily make something so great, or at least she would be great. And it's something that was just kind of, I mean, she
That's
really
true.
could surpass the material if she had to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you think? Do you want to start making stuff? I mean, I was thinking of making pancakes for.
Yes.
Yes.
I was gonna make my plan this morning was to make Joan Crawford's hot buttered bread, which is basically bread with butter, according to Joan.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious that Joan Crawford has a recipe for hot buttered bread. It's always just made me laugh.
And it calls for a half pound of butter, and I'm like, Joan, I want to live. I'm not gonna put a half pound of butter on my bread. But I was going to make Joan Crawford's hot buttered bread and then Marlene Dietrich's scrambled eggs. But I'm not going to use a fraction of the butter these ladies used. But our friend and Hollywood Kitchen supporter Barbara Boyd Doss this morning posted that she made pancakes, and the pictures she posted looked so pretty. I'm like, ooh, maybe I should ditch Joan Crawford's hot buttered bread and make pancakes instead this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Barbara's pancakes looked really nice. They looked really light and fluffy and sort of beautifully done.
Yes. So do you want to make your food now? Because I was thinking of maybe making mine either during the movie or maybe after the movie during the discussion. I'm not sure. I just had a 16-hour day of travel the other day, so I'm not fully mentally with the program just yet.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe what we could do is I could make mine now.
Okay.
I could make mine now, and then you could do yours during the break. Is that what you want to do?
Or I could do it. Yeah, I could make it now. I mean,
okay.
What time?
I mean, it is hot buttered bread.
It's hot buttered bread.
It's hot buttered bread. It's not going to take very long.
So, what time are we starting the film again?
Starting the film at 11.
Oh my God!
11. So what I was
sorry.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is we'll have, now it's almost 10:15 here in California. Everybody else is in different places in the world, but it's now almost 10:15 here. I figure that, for the next half hour, we'll cook and we'll talk a little bit more. And then we'll stop at 10:45. And then we'll have 15 minutes so that everybody who has the Zoom link to watch Miracle Woman can jump on the Zoom link. And then at 11 we'll start. 11 we'll start the movie, and then we'll come back here, right, Carrie, for the discussion?
Yes, we'll come back here on this Zoom link, which is also going to be on Facebook for the discussion. Our discussions are going to be on Facebook, but because of the other reasons, we're going to watch the video at Laura's Zoom link. So if you are watching right now and you want to watch this film, please send Laura a private message and ask for the Zoom link so you can watch the movies. Yeah. And then we'll do the discussions here on my Zoom, which is going to feed into Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to make Claudette Colbert's pancakes.
I think I'll do that too, but honestly, because that sounds a lot better to me right now.
Pancakes?
Yes.
Okay. You going to do it?
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get started. So feel free to join us in the discussion, or if you have comments, questions, etc. And if y'all will just give me a minute, I'm going to go grab the hot plate and get to going.
Okay. And I'm going to pull up the recipe.
Oh, you know what? Since I've been gone for a few weeks, I don't have that many groceries, so I might have to use Bisquick. I hope that's okay.
Oh yes. Well, as we discussed earlier, Bisquick is totally fine.
Yeah, and plus I do have a 1935 cookbook somewhere around here that's a Bisquick cookbook. So it is from the 30s, and it is period appropriate. And by the way, I did promise that I would be somewhat glamorous today. Right now it's not happening, but I'm hoping later in the day I will actually get into something nicer to wear than my bathrobe, and hopefully.
It's New Year's Eve and it's breakfast time, so I think you're forgiven, Carrie.
I think I'm forgiven. I try not to cook in vintage because if I spill something on it, you can't exactly take it to the dry cleaners in a lot of cases. So that's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to grab the hot plate and start grabbing supplies. So,
okay. Actually, I just got an email from Ruth asking if everything was okay because the Zoom link says waiting for host. But that is the other Zoom link. That's the Zoom link that we're going to use for our private movie thing.
For the private movie screening.
Yes.
Right now,
So we have 2 Zoom links because we can't broadcast the movies. We have very specific conditions under which we can show a movie over Zoom. So we can't broadcast the movie. So that's what we're doing here. We're doing the discussions here, and then we're showing the movie on the other Zoom link. So in case anybody else is waiting on the other Zoom link, that's what's going on. Okay.
We just joined it on Facebook. I mean, people can just join it on Facebook at the discussion part instead of
Yeah. People can just join in on Facebook. We'll look at questions and we'll just have a an interactive discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to get things together and make Claudette Colbert's pancakes.
Me too. Stay tuned. We'll be back. We're just shuffling around, getting ready. So again, if you have comments, if you have questions, leave them in the section here on Facebook. We'll try our best to answer them. And also, if you make a pre-code meal today of any kind, take pictures, post them online, #Hollywood Kitchen, #pre-code and pancakes, and feel free to join in the fun. And by the way, a mega shout out to Krista Lawler, who compiled a truckload of pre-code movie star recipes and put them on Pinterest. So Krista, thank you so much. We love you. And I know you'll be joining us later in the day if you're not watching right now. So hold on, and we will be back.
Okay. I am making, let's see, I'm putting 2 cups of flour.
Trying to find my hot plate.
Yes. Making sure I have baking soda and not baking powder.
I still never figured out a way to mount my laptop above my stove. So
yeah, I just have my what do you call this thing? It's like a tabletop, like a tabletop that you have to sort of hold the computer at eye level. I just have one of those. So I'm very low budget here. Okay. Salt. Oh, by the way, if maybe do we want to post the Claudette Colbert recipe in the chat or something so people can see it?
Oh yeah, you know what? Let me go to my let me see if I can find that, because the previous episode we did a pre-code and pancakes. I'm pretty sure I posted that. So let me go grab my phone and check here in a minute.
Okay.
Just a sec.
I think that
everybody is doing well out there, and I hope you guys enjoy, following us along today. Again, we just, Hollywood Kitchen, if I can say, has really helped me a lot in the pandemic. It's given me a chance to have some fun, to spend time with my friends, even if we live in other states, cities, or countries. And it's taught me how to make a lot of things, and it's really been such a fun project just to do for fun.
Yeah, so, it's really great, Carrie. I mean, it's really wonderful that you've done this. I think that I speak for a lot of us, when I say it's meant a lot to a lot of us.
Thank you. And it's just, it's been a sanity saver, to be honest, because I think I speak for all of us when I say this pandemic has been beyond rough, and it's just given me something to focus on, go, okay, things suck, but guess what? I'm making K. Francis coffee souffle biscuit, so that's cool. And it's kind of just given me something joyous. And also, I've met a lot of really cool people doing this too. So I've picked up some new friends, and that's been super positive. So, I am very, very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for everybody who has watched, who has been a guest, who has been kind, who has sent me stuff. I've just, who's contributed, because anytime people contribute to my little buy me a coffee, all proceeds from that go to help buy food and supplies and ingredients and, all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. By the way, I'm posting in the Facebook links the link to the previous pre-code and pancake episode we did. I think it was around TCM, and it's got Claudette's 1935 pancake recipe in that link.
Before I crack this egg, I just want to show this really super weird egg. I don't know if you can see it,
Yeah.
but I've been saving this egg because I just think it's kind of weird, weird and creepy. But it remains to be seen if it's a normal egg. So let's.
So if an alien pops out, you saw it here first.
Yeah, if an alien pops out, it's
that would actually be kind of on brand for the last couple years.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're gonna see if it's a normal egg. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's a normal egg. Okay.
Oh,
no
good.
dinosaurs, no aliens.
Well, that's good.
Well, I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. Okay. One.
All right, gonna fire up the hot plate here.
Okay. Okay, I had eggs beaten in with the milk, so we've got to get some milk. And how much milk do we need?
Ruth, by the way, we hope you are watching us.
Yeah, Ruth sent me the message, so I hope that figured it out.
By the way, Ruth has been an invaluable help in Hollywood Kitchen, and she helped me. We are quite literally cooking something up really cool for end of January with Hollywood Kitchen. We shot part of it right before Christmas, so mixing up my Bisquick batter here. I might make the scrambled eggs later and just start with the pancakes for now.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Go like this. We'll dump it in here. Whoops. Okay, I'm substituting butter for shortening. I don't know if that's appropriate, but that's what's gonna happen.
Oh, I think that's fine. I eat my pancakes off my 1930s glass depression dish. I don't know about you guys, but like I used to be very into special occasions, and there were so many outfits or dishes or things I was always saving for some special occasion, and oftentimes they'd never get used. So now, because of the pandemic, I think I rethought all of that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm alive, I'm here, and that is a special occasion. So
yes.
I use the depression glass dishes a whole lot more than I used to.
All right, I think that this is ready to go. Well, almost ready. Okay, Claudette Colbert is very specific to say that you're not supposed to try to get the clumps out. You're not supposed to try to mix the clumps out. They will magically disappear, she says, during cooking. So I'm going to trust her on that. And, you know, she's not quite as aggressive as Dorothy McHale.
You know, I think at some point we need to do an entire Dorothy McHale episode.
Yes.
Those popovers, I started thinking about it that we made on the Stanwyck episode. That was worthy of its own episode, actually.
Yeah.
And plus,
yeah, those were great popovers. I mean, I didn't even have, now I do, thanks to you, but I didn't have a popover pan at that point, and I made them in cupcake tins. And so they tried so hard to pop over, and they just got kind of thin. But even that was really delicious.
Yeah, and Danny, Ruth, and I ate so many of them hot out of the oven, and they were so good. And plus, I kind of like to seesaw between huge iconic stars like Barbara Stanwyck or Cary Grant with smaller, lesser known stars like, say, Anita Page. It's kind of fun. And also,
Yeah.
it's fun to hopefully introduce anybody watching to like a different star that's maybe they didn't know as much. And I think Dorothy McHale's very under the radar. And I think we need to do something about that because that's what she'd want, Laura. That's what she wants.
Yeah, what's exactly, and we do exactly what Dorothy McHale wants at all times.
Without question. That's why she made me send you that popover tin. I came home and I was like, Dorothy McHale was like, Carrie, this is not acceptable that she had to use a muffin tin. You must order and you must order now. And I said, yes, ma'am.
Yes, exactly.
So I sent Laura a popover tin so she can have the proper Dorothy McHale popover.
Yeah, we can maybe talk more about this during the Marian segment, but Dorothy McHale and Marian were really close.
Very cool.
Yeah, really good friends. And she went to Europe with them in 1934. And so I have some interviews with Dorothy McHale that are really, really lovely interviews. She was a lovely woman.
Yeah, and I think she's just so under the radar. I personally love the pre-code Safe in Hell. That is so good. And I think there's a lot of her films that are really kind of worthy of people checking out. So we got to do a pop over Dorothy McHale standalone episode.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm going to go, my griddle's getting hot here, so I'm going to go ahead and pour out the pancake batter to get this party started.
Oh, I didn't mix it well. Well, we'll see how this turns out.
All right. See if anybody's commenting right now.
For the next drop of pancake, I'm going to mix a little bit better.
See if we're getting any comments from people.
I'm gonna make a challah for later. I mean, Friday anyway. Yeah, for the evening show, I think, or maybe I'll do it in the lunch show. I don't know. But I made mini versions of Ava Gardner's pecan pie.
I saw that, and that's a great idea that never occurred to me because, like, if you're having a big party and you want finger food or stuff that you can just kind of quickly pop in your mouth, that is a brilliant idea. I'd never thought of that.
The reason that I did the mini version is because we only had one pie crust left, and why does that make a difference? I don't know. It made sense to me at the time that we only had one pie crust left, and so I just like put the I separated the. You know what it was? Now I remember. The issue was that I was going to make a full pie, and I put it out, and I accidentally touched the crust before it was thawed, and the crust fell apart. Oh. So I did mini versions in a cupcake tin with the little, crumbled crust.
Well, part of the spirit of Hollywood Kitchen, along with our current times, along with the Great Depression, was making the best of what you have to work with in difficult circumstances.
Yeah,
so, exactly. I mean, I started this whole thing during like lockdown, so I think that's kind of a recurring theme. So I'm all about doing that,
Yeah.
By the way, one of the things that a friend pointed out, I am definitely very guilty of, is kind of assuming that everybody already knows about a lot of this stuff when we log in. Because one of my friends is like, hey, I'm like a casual fan of classics. Can you just like give more explanation on some of this stuff? And I said, well, that's a very valid point. So Laura, if someone asked you like, hey, what is this pre-code? Like, what would you kind of tell them in a nutshell what this is and why we love it so much?
Well, the pre-code era was 5 years between 1929 and 1934. After the silent era was essentially gone, and before we could go into all this stuff about the about Will Hayes and about the thought that movies were inherently indecent, and all of that. But if we were going to do it in a nutshell, maybe we should skip all that because we'd be here all day.
Exactly.
But essentially, between 1929 and 1934, movies were essentially unregulated. There was a regulation office in place, but it was not very streamlined, and the studios wanted to make movies that would sell, and what would sell, are movies with a lot of steaminess, as we were talking about earlier, movies that made audiences think about sort of social issues of the day and things like that. And so what resulted is this group of movies that is not really what a lot of people think of when they think of old movies. When people who are sort of outside of the classic film world think of old movies, they tend to think of like, oh, golly gee, like
Mickey and Judy putting on a show in the barnyard.
Yeah, exactly. And these movies are not like that at all. They turn that idea completely on its head. So a lot of people who I know who don't know classics, I turn them on to classics by showing them pre-codes, and they're like, whoa, I had no idea that old movies could be like this.
Oh yeah, the first time I ever saw Babyface in college, I was shocked.
Oh,
I couldn't even believe my eyes.
And then when they restored it to what it was before the code.
Yes. Oh, double shock.
That is just even more amazing.
And I just feel like too, I'm fascinated not just by pre-code, but from films in general from 1929 to like 1934, because they were totally relearning the craft of filmmaking. It was so different from silent film. And there were so many technical changes they were trying to get used to, ways they were trying to relearn how to make films and tell stories. And I think that just yielded such interesting stuff. Some of it not great, admittedly, but some of it just electrifying. And it's so fun to kind of study that particular time, and also how it kind of reflects what's going on in the world with the Great Depression and just all of the stuff that was going on in the country, well, in the world really at that, particular point in history.
Yeah. They're fascinating movies, and it's a fascinating era. And like I said, we could be here all day if we be here for all month. If we were going to go into everything about why this era was the way it was, and the code, and we could go back to the 20s and Fatty Arbuckle and all that.
It's endless, and there are some. My mouth's full. There are some documentaries floating out there about pre-code. So at the end of our night tonight, I'll try to post links to some of those. So that way, if people want to check those documentaries out and kind of do a deep dive on their own, that way, that would be a good way to do it. My pancakes are done, and I'm now going to consume them in front of you.
Yes. This is quite good. I realized too late, well, it's probably not too late because I could probably take it and put it in the batter. I have bananas to make banana pancakes, which is my favorite thing.
Ooh, what's interesting? After I just did my last episode back home in Georgia of Marlene Dietrich's banana bread, I like bananas too, and I got really curious to kind of go down the rabbit hole of bananas. And I found a 1930s cookbook on eBay that's all about cooking with bananas in the 30s. And I won it for like $8, and it's on its way to me right now. So
I wonder if that had something to do with not being able to get bananas or not being able to get not bananas, like eggs and things like that as easily, during the Depression.
It could be. And I found another Marlene Dietrich recipe. It's called a banana truffle or something. So I guess maybe bananas were like a popular,
like a substitute maybe for something else. Yeah.
I'm going to be I'll definitely send you some texts or images of this cookbook, because it should get here hopefully this week. Let's see. Melanie San Milan watching says, Carrie, I made matcha pancakes this morning. Yes, Laura, make that challah.
Oh my God, make the challah.
It's challah, right? Not challah, it's challah.
It's challah, yeah. Yeah.
Matcha pancake.
Wow. How did those turn out? I wonder. I mean, I'm sure that they were delicious.
Please send us pictures. If you guys cook along with us, send pictures. It's fun.
Yeah.
I would love, Lara, to do another episode where we explore Jewish cuisine with Danny Miller, because Gertrude Berg was my first introduction into doing that. And I felt terrible that I'd never heard of her. So I got like a crash course, thanks to Danny, in all things Gertrude Berg. I didn't know she'd won it. She'd written her own cookbook. She'd won the very first Best Actress in a Comedy Emmy Award. Like, that was really fascinating. I learned a lot. So I would be absolutely down to do more Jewish cuisine with you guys, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Jewish cuisine is really broad. It's, there's Ashkenazi cuisine and Sephardic cuisine and Mizrahi cuisine and Israeli cuisine and, all of this, and of course, differences with German Jewish cuisine and Russian. And so it's very broad. And we could do a lot with it, probably. I mean, that would be a big day.
Joanne Kemper just commented, challah French toast is quite good.
Yes, challah French toast is the best.
Oh man, Danny Miller says Charles and I are listening while we are in the car line for a COVID test. Awesome. Ruth is watching us. Ruth, Victoria Mature is watching us. Hello, happy New Year's to you guys.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Let's see. Benjamin in Germany, Susan Schwab. Joanne Kemper, did Barbara ever say which role was her favorite?
I don't think so. Not that I know of, anyway. I feel like Barbara Stanwyck was much more focused on the work rather than herself, her stardom. She was one of those people who kind of didn't really think a lot of her own stardom. I don't know. Have you heard anything about her saying which role was her favorite?
I agree with you about the work. I think I love Joan Crawford. I've made no secret of that. But I think Joan Crawford was into the movie stardom aspect.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
wrong with that at all, by the way. But I think Barbara was just about the work, and that was it. And I get the sense that she lived very privately off screen, and she was very no fuss, no anything off screen. And, I heard this quote about her that I love. Someone was praising her, and she looked at them and said, I don't walk on water. I'm just a dame from Brooklyn. I'm like, okay, that just made me love her even more than I already did, which I didn't think was possible. But yeah, she was doing the work and then going home. And I think Lon Chaney was the same way. I think there were some of them that they did the work, and then when they left work, they kind of didn't exist in the public eye very much after that,
Yeah. Marion was a bit like that. I mean, of course she had her parties and, she loved the people that she worked with and all of that, but she didn't really think a whole lot of being like a movie star or or somebody or a public person.
And for our midday show, we are going to do a deep dive into Marion and talk about Laura's upcoming book, Captain of Her Soul, Marion Davies, which is coming out. I've got to plug you. August of 2022. We're going to do a cover reveal. We're going to talk about that. We've got so much to talk about today. It's going to be a delightful marathon of film history today.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be really fun. We
needed this because without this, New Year's would have just been.
Yeah, we've got 3 sessions today, which is that's fun.
I like challenging myself too, like last year with the Oscar blogathon. I think that went 4.5. I kind of like to think, what else can we do that will be a big challenge that we can try to tackle,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to make one more pancake before we have to switch Zoom links. Do I want to put a banana in it? Do I want to put a banana in it, Carrie?
Yeah, you should. You should.
Okay. I'm going to put a banana in it.
Maybe I'll make another one too. They were very good, and yeah. Sorry, I'm still recovering from my flight. It's gonna be like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that sounded like an absolute nightmare of flight.
Yeah, I'm telling people, if you don't absolutely have to get on an airplane right now, please don't, because it is just beyond chaos in air travel right now. Okay, Francis is sending us a comment. He says there is a Cagney film where he plays a banana grower in the Banana Republic with political overthrows that may have been a pre-code. I don't know about that. I will have to look into that.
Okay, well, let's look into that right now, actually. Let's see. Just because this is who I am as a person. Let's see.
And I love you for that. What are the reasons?
Torrid Zone. 1940.
It's called what?
Torrid Zone.
Ah, okay. 1940, not a pre-code, but still interesting movie I will need to check out. Doug Chatfield just said, if you really go down the banana rabbit hole, that's such a great phrase, you'll find bananas were popular in the 1920s, but were all but wiped out by disease. Today, the most popular type in the US is Cavendish. The import of this change in the movie industry is that Gross Michael skins, am I pronouncing that right? Gross Michael, are more slippery than Cavendish. So slipping on a banana peel gag made more sense back in the day.
That's fascinating. I love that stuff.
Yes, Doug Catfield, thank you very much for that. And I will definitely post about my 1930s banana cookbook when it arrives, because I'm kind of going down that rabbit hole right now. And banana rabbit hole is a great phrase anyway, so. Okay. By the way, everybody watching, do you guys have the link to watch the movie with us on Zoom? If you do not, send Laura a private message and she will send you that Zoom link.
I think this is ready to flip.
Waiting for my thing to heat up here. I feel like I've been on a food rampage this holiday season. But whatever, it's been a hard year. Why not be kind to ourselves? You know?
Yeah, it's fine. Maybe COVID calories don't count.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That could be a bumper sticker. That would be a good one. Okay.
Okay. This feels like it's about done. There it is.
By the way, if anybody's cooking along with us, I posted the link for this recipe, or the recipe that we're making the pancakes from a previous episode. So check out the links for the 1935 Claudette Colbert pancake recipe.
This is so good. Okay, Carrie, I'm thinking that we should probably switch Zoom links now.
Okay.
Okay. Just to give everybody enough time to
get settled.
Yeah, to get on before 11.
Okay, that sounds good. So we're going to sign off on Facebook now. Send Lara a private message if you want to watch the film with us on Zoom. And then we will be back on Facebook with a post-film discussion.
Yes. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Okay, well, we kind of have a global crisis on our hands. And by global crisis, I mean, during the Barbara Stanwyck movie, we got the very sad news that Betty White has left us. This is tough. I never thought I'd live in a world where Betty White was not a part of it. Oh wait, are we still live? Okay, I'm just trying to make sure.
Yes, it says live on Facebook.
Okay, sorry. I'm a little out of sorts at the moment. Oh, this stinks. I did not think this would happen
Yeah.
ever. You know?
Well, yeah, so Carrie and I were thinking about what we should do, for the rest of the day, and we thought that we would ask our viewers if you would like to modify the next hour or so to be about paying tribute to Betty White, or if you would like to keep it pre-code. So I guess we'll see what people want to do.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When I heard this happened, obviously, I was very upset. I very quickly, spontaneously ordered a Golden Girls cookbook, which should be here like next week. But a simple Google search did turn up 3 different Betty White recipes from a flour company, and they look like they are dated to probably the 50s, just based on a very quick glance at them. One is an easy slice banana loaf. One is an easy slice applesauce loaf. And the third is an easy slice orange loaf. And they look like they are from the Blend Flour Company. So if anyone's interested in making those, I personally will have to put on clothes and go to the store because I just got back from a trip and have like no groceries and I'm still kind of struggling to get my act together, but that's okay. And if anyone would like to maybe make those, officially I want to do a whole full-fledged episode of Hollywood Kitchen about Betty White because she deserves that. But
It sure does.
I also feel very compelled to do a spontaneous tribute as well. So what do you guys think, our viewers? Let us know, comment, tell us what you're thinking. Ruth, if you're out there, and Marcia, just go on Facebook and you can see us on Facebook. That's better.
So,
It's less confusing.
So Stephen is chiming in saying, can we stay with pre-code but sprinkle in some Betty White tributes? I think that would be great.
That would be great. I would like to, like I said, get that Golden Girls cookbook, put in a little research time, in terms of like what we would make and this, all of that. So
yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll stick with our original plan and then, maybe talk about Betty throughout the program because obviously this was rather unexpected.
It's so weird. Like when Olivia de Havilland died, I know as you did as well, I took that really hard. And a friend was like, why are you so upset? She was over 100. And I say, yeah, but I mean, when your whole life you knew and loved this person and their work, and they felt like they were such a part of your life, and you never thought they wouldn't ever be there. And so I know it's by all accounts of logic, it doesn't make sense to be shocked or particularly upset, but it does in a way because they were.
When Olivia died, I mean, I knew that she was 104, like this was expected really any day, but it's just such a loss. Like it's just such a huge loss that it and especially when it's somebody that that has had such a full life. It feels like there's a gaping hole in the world. So
very much so. And it just feels like another piece of our history is being lost. I think a lot about death because I spend every Saturday giving a cemetery tour. So it's kind of an occupational hazard, I guess. But I had one lady on the tour share some thoughts with me one day, and she said, anytime a person dies, it's like a library burns to the ground. And when she said that, I just stood there like, that sank in to me because all the stories they have, all the things they've seen, someone that's lived 99 years old, and think about what they have seen versus how they entered the world and what year that was to where the decades of change and upheaval and just everything. And it's just, that phrase really stuck with me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful phrase. I'm looking at the comments, and it looks like everybody is down to stick with the pre-code. So
Okay.
that's great. You know, we can stick with the pre-code, sprinkle some Betty in there, and you know, as appropriate, and we'll have a future tribute where we can really honor her as she deserves.
Yes, and I want to do a group tribute. So what we'll do is do a whole group Hollywood Kitchen. Maybe we can make the Betty White recipe, or put out a ton of them, and everybody could do their own version of a Betty White thing, and then we can all get on and talk about our memories, our favorite episodes, etc. That would be a fun.
Yes, that would be really cool. That'd be really cool. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about Miracle Woman? I mean,
I do.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because so we had about how many? We had about 10 people on the call, and it was really really great to be with everybody and chatting about the movie. And anything that you particularly wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I did. It's been a while since I've seen it, so it was kind of good. I don't know about you, but I see so many movies that I don't have one of those memories that can just call up stuff all the time. I have to kind of revisit things.
Yeah.
And one thing that stood out to me on this viewing was the cinematography. Because like Ruth, our friend Ruth was saying earlier, sometimes movies are like an endless well. You can watch them a million times and you pick up something different each time. And they're so rich in that way. And just the images of that white flowing diaphanous robe, and then the images of that church burning at the end. And that is just haunting imagery right there, you know?
Yeah. And I realized at the end with the burning of the church, really just how much it is like Elmer Gantry, you know? I mean, of course, the McPherson story inspired both, but with the burning of the church, I mean, that really is such an interesting image, because of course there's the parallel, right? There's the church and then hellfire and, you know, all of that. Yeah, it's such an amazing movie. And it's really well written. It's really well written.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was doing a little bit of research on it, and the primary writer was Joe Swirling, so written by a woman, based on a play that was co-written by Robert Riskin. So the material is great, you know.
You can't go wrong with that kind of material.
Yeah, exactly. And I was also remembering that the costumes are interesting. You know, the costumes are really sort of long and flowing, which I think has sort of a dual reasoning behind it, because obviously the long flowing robes of the church and all of that. And also Barbara Stanwyck is notoriously difficult to dress. And this was before she discovered, or before Edith Head discovered her. And Edith Head, you know, knew how to dress her, but other people couldn't really figure out how to dress her. So I think that those long flowing robes that she wore sort of were an antidote to that, maybe partially.
And also it kind of gives her this floaty kind of angel, kind of otherworldly kind of look as well. And that may be me reading into.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And especially with her hair down.
Yeah, it kind of has this ethereal. I'm mispronouncing it, but you know what I mean.
Ethereal, yeah.
And it's just such an interesting film, because I'm really glad you picked it. Laura has programmed these films, by the way, today. And I'm glad you picked it, because no, when people think of Barbara Stanwyck pre-code, they always think Babyface, and rightly so. As Leonard Maltin, the great Leonard Maltin, has said, Babyface is kind of like the Citizen Kane of the pre-code era. But she made so many of those movies, and so many of them are kind of under the radar compared to Babyface, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but a lot of these early ones are on par with Babyface, I think, in terms of quality.
I think so too.
Yeah, this one and 10 Cents a Dance, I think, is really fun.
I love Ladies They Talk About.
Oh my God. Oh, well, yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah, that one is just brilliant in so many ways.
Oh my God, so many ways.
I love that movie. That's another
I
one
do
that
too.
a lot of people haven't seen and that they really, really, really should.
Yeah,
I
and I
wish it
think
were more
it is.
widely available.
I think it might be on one of the Warner Brothers Forbidden Hollywood sets. I
I
will
think
have
it
to
is.
go
Yes,
check,
I think
but
you're right. I think it is. Um, uh, but but I don't think it has an individual DVD release even.
I don't think so either. I think it's just part of a Forbidden Hollywood set, which those kind of sometimes in and of themselves fly under the radar because there might be one movie that everybody kind of gets the DVD for the set, and they
Yeah,
don't realize there's a lot more going on.
yeah. I'm just looking at the comments here. Oh, Danny says that he and Charles are going to make a chocolate souffle tonight in honor of Betty's episode on Mary Tyler Moore. That's sweet.
Oh, and Stephen Smith says nice stories about this period of Riskin's life in Vicky Riskin's book. That is
Yes.
true. That is such a good book, by the way. I did an episode with Victoria Riskin, daughter of Fay Wray and screenwriter Robert Riskin.
Yeah.
And yes, he was an incredible writer. And my God, that man left an incredible legacy of great scripts out there.
Yes, he did. Um, yeah, let me look at, I took a few notes during the movie to see if, you know, to have something to talk about. Oh, that's another thing that I was thinking about, that there is some baby face energy like in this movie, especially at the beginning, the beginning when she was sort of being encouraged to go into the church because religion is no good unless you can sell it. Basically, that's what she was being told. And that reminded me of in Babyface, her conversation with the older man, right? Use men to get the things you want.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Um, uh, yeah. And oh, and the other thing I noted was I think that her little rendition of The Farmer in the Dell is so cute.
Yeah, and she's so like what you said, she was so talented so early on. Because I think sometimes in classic Hollywood, we see some of the stars that in the early phases of their careers, they're just kind of getting warmed up and finding maybe their footing. And it takes a while before, say, they become that star. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with Barbara, she was so fully formed so very early on.
Yeah, she was always Barbara Stanwyck.
Yeah, there wasn't she was this and then she became, it wasn't that at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting because she, on one hand, she was always Barbara Stanwyck, but she was also so versatile. Like she's Barbara Stanwyck in Miracle Woman, and she's also Barbara Stanwyck in Ball of Fire, and it's the same Barbara Stanwyck, but doing different things so well.
Oh yeah, and she made it look so effortless. I often maintain that so many of these stars, I think, were kind of taken for granted as talents or artists because they make it look so simple. They make it look easy. And then I think that people just take them for granted and don't realize how much talent, how much hard work, how much effort is kind of going into what they do. And
Yeah.
she can be she could play rich, she could play poor, she could play dowdy, she could play stunningly sexy. Like she had so much. I would argue that I think she had the greatest range of any actress in Hollywood's golden age.
Yeah, certainly, her and Irene Dunne also had great range.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh,
Yeah, but and interestingly, they neither of them got an Oscar.
that's what I mean by the taking for granted. I think that's
Yeah.
the Cary Grant's problem too, is he was so good. Everyone's like, oh, he's just playing Cary Grant. Like, I think people took him for granted, his talent, like left, right, and sideways. And I know Ruth here is probably agreeing with me.
Yeah, and it's really amazing to hear people talk about Barbara Stanwyck, because people have such reverence for who she was, and as a person and as an actor. She I heard something, actually it might have been, I don't remember where I heard this, but that on Remember the Night, the entire production was brought up because Barbara Stanwyck was so diligent about learning her lines. She never missed a line. She was always on time, and everybody was like competing with her to match her, dedication.
That is such a good movie. We talked a
I
lot about
adore
that.
that movie.
We
Yeah,
talked about that on the Christmas episode, but
yeah,
it's
we
worthy
did.
of discussing again.
Yes, it's always worthy of discussion. I just adore that movie.
I do too. It's a special movie. Like I think there's some movies you like, some movies you admire, some movies you love, some movies that you cherish, if that makes any sense. And I
Yes,
think
that
that's
makes perfect sense.
that you cherish.
Yeah, like that is a personal favorite. You know, like people always ask that horrendous question about what's your favorite movie, you know, and it's like, oh, how do I answer that?
Which era, which day of the week are you gonna ask me that? Like, yeah, that's
Yes, but if I were to pick a personal favorite, that's a personal favorite, you know, that's just like I can't really explain why I love it so much. Like with something like It Happened One Night, it's like, okay, everything is just snappy, great, you know, like the script, the directing, the acting, everything is just like boom, 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 great, wonderful. With Remember the Night, it's a much sort of vaguer, non-tangible love. You know, it's just, it feels good. It feels good.
I think for me, the movies that I cherish are movies that not only are great movies, but they hit home in a very, very personal way. Like for me, when it comes to Remember the Night, my mom and dad are very loving, very kind. I had a good childhood. I always felt safe and I always felt loved. And I just assumed that everybody had that. I thought that was normal, you know? And later in my life, especially having moved to Los Angeles, I have got friends now who have childhoods that shock me of neglect and abuse and just I'm just stunned by some of the stories. And I feel like sometimes having I just didn't realize how fortunate I was for a long time. I didn't know. And now that I know, I feel so overwhelmed with gratitude. But when you see that movie and you see what a difference having kindness and love makes in your life and in the direction of your life and how you turn out, and that movie's all about that. You know?
Yeah, and the scene where she is sort of looking around at his house while he's sitting there at the piano, and she's just looking around, and you can see her thought process, like, this is what a family is supposed to look like.
And I wish everybody had that. I wish everybody could have that experience. Everybody deserves that.
Yeah. It's just, it's beautiful acting from her. And I wonder also how much of that was personal to her, because she grew up without a family, essentially.
And knowing that backstory too, I think really makes it doubly powerful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, here we are, started talking about Miracle Woman, and now here we are on Remember the Night. But, you know,
well, it's all
not a
Stanwyck,
but, you know, worth talking about always.
Worth talking about completely. And but yeah, I mean, she did make so many great films just in the I feel almost like I get why Victoria Wilson's book is like that tall, volume one, because there's just so much to talk about. I mean, the scale of her career alone, there could be books just about the films of Stanwyck in the early 1930s, the films of Stanwyck in the mid to late 19. I mean, almost every chapter of her career, there is a big book to be written just about the films, not counting her life off screen, because there's so much depth, there's so much complexity, there's so much artistry and so much to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just reading the comments here. Ruth says they could not put Cary Grant in one category. That's very true.
Yeah, and I think Hollywood does try to do that. Like, you are the seductors, you are the bubble. They want to put you in. Yeah, I agree, Ruth. That's a terrific point.
Yeah. And then former foster care youth like Stanwyck. Yeah, she I think she was lucky in some ways that her family did keep her, you know, like she was raised by her sister, but when the sister couldn't take care of her, then she was, you know, given to friends and things like that. But she was never in the system, you know. Same thing with Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was never actually in the system. She was always sort of.
And I think you mentioned the story to me recently that out of all the older actresses that Marilyn Monroe encountered in her early days, that Barbara was the only one that was really good to her.
And they had such amazing chemistry in Clash by Night. You can see this real tenderness that sort of breaks the screen, or breaks the fourth wall, I guess we would say. This, you could tell that Barbara Stanwyck was really sort of caring for her. And at that point, I mean, Marilyn Monroe was not a star yet, but she was already displaying some of her insecurity, her insecure behaviors of, not getting to the set on time and all of that. And everybody else was kind of, put out by it. But Barbara Stanwyck apparently was really not. She was very, very patient with her and sort of took her under her wing and kind of got her, like, in a way that not a lot of people did.
Well, I think another thing too is that maybe if you share that brutal of an upbringing and background, maybe it immediately bonds you. Kind of like, I have to look my laptop again, but like my dad's in the military, and he served in combat in Vietnam. And I've seen it when my dad has met other veterans. Sorry, my battery's about to die. I've got to plug this thing back in instead. I've seen it when my dad has met other people in the military. There's almost like this immediate bond, even if they didn't serve together, and even if they maybe weren't in the same generation or the same war or whatever. There's kind of like this bond of we have a shared experience, we've both been down this same very difficult road. And I think it's definitely possible that maybe Stanwyck and Marilyn, they just kind of
they had an entente. They had an understanding of each other just naturally.
They're cut from the sort of same swath of fabric, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Well, do you want to, should we take a little break? And we're starting Marion at 1:30.
Okay, so that gives us about a 35-minute break, and hopefully I will change clothes.
Yeah, I have to take my dog for a walk. So I guess we'll see everybody back here at 1:30.
Yeah, and just to clarify, because I think Laura, some people were texting me, they were confused about the discussion links.
Oh, okay,
so
yeah.
Don't worry about going to Zoom for the discussions. Basically, the movies we're going to show over the Zoom link that Laura has sent people. And then the discussions, we'll just put them here on Facebook. So just tune into Facebook for the chats.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, and we'll see you back at 1:30.
See you back at 1:30.
Okay.